You wake the next morning, and it's a little overcast, but fairly quiet. Uh, Torin is, however, sort of talking in his sleep, and he looks like he's a little feverish.
Lucius, I think we need to get him to a healer.
I think we all need to get to a healer since we're all sick. Let's pound my hand on the table and sneeze.
Yes, well, we all are sick, but I think he's just a little bit more critical than what we are experiencing, don't you think?
And perhaps that rat carcass still around? We should probably bring that to the healers. They might have some insight. Look around and see if we have that giant rat carcass somewhere that we dragged in.
It's still there, unless one of you got really hungry.
Look at the dog.
Dwarf.
Nikolai would have been pouring some water into, I guess he would palm a little bit of salt and pour the water out of his flask into that. And he'd try to basically gargle with salt water. And he'd be spitting, throwing some stuff down his beard when you mentioned the rat. And he'd like kind of wrinkle his nose and go, "We best probably we should burn body in case they have diseases."
We're already dying. The healers might need that.
Oh, don't be so negative. We're not dying. We're just sick. We'll be getting better soon. I've seen it. I've seen it in the stars.
You and your stars. You slept like the rest of us. You didn't look at any stars last night. Never mind. Someone help me with this one. Perhaps, I don't know. The other fat one can help me carry this fat one.
He's awfully silent.
He's not here, that's why.
Okay, I'll help you.
Pretty good.
Check his wounds, see if they smell.
It's kind of hard to tell. My nose is all stopped up.
I'll
Oh,
look
yeah.
it over to see if I see any festering or anything like that.
It doesn't look that way, but it'd be a little early for that, probably.
It's too soon for the sickness to take to the wounds. It at least needs 2 or 3 days.
Probably best to rinse out with salt water.
I agree.
He starts dripping the pus, he's probably lose limb.
Alright. Everyone stand back in case he swings too when I rinse this out. Go to grab a cup that's nearby and sprinkle some salt in it and then... Oh, pour some salt in the wound.
He wakes up to that and does immediately start thrashing around. A little weakly, but and he looks at you with a angry fire in his eyes and says, "What did you go and do that for?"
So you don't lose a limb.
And
Go there, try to secure him and rest him. Basically, just like, "Hey, easy there, little mamushka. Is everything be okay? We try to clean the wound. We do not want to lose an arm or leg, do you?"
he looks down at his arm and then looks up at the cup, and he kind of figures out what you were doing, and he just kind of nods and sits down.
Now, little pain now, beats long term, or a lot of regret later.
Right. And then just continue to pour the salt in the water.
Okay, he just grits his teeth, but doesn't make much noise, and no thrashing this time.
Sobaka! Slap my leg, then turn to him like, I said, you want pooch like one?
You want the pooch to lick his wound?
I'm asking Tor, and I go, you want Pooch lick wound?
Well, why would I want that?
He'll just kind of shrug and look at Dog, and he goes, nah, better not. You might get Pooch sick.
He just looks at you curiously.
Gargle some salt water. Oh. Well,
Blow,
burning daylight.
yeah, blow, just casually cover one nostril, blow snot out of the open side, then I'll cover the other side, blow it. Yes, let's make way to priestesses.
Very well. Well, let's get him. We'll get him to a priest somewhere, a healer, someone who could look after him.
Might want to bring stool. Nikolai, I think we're going to be standing in line long time.
So Andolph will go over and basically put a arm, underneath his arm, and kind of lock it up under there and lift him up
Okay.
onto his side, using Andolph's sizable body, all of his weight, kind of just lift him and heave him up to get him moving.
Okay. He lets you do that, and he has the power to move along, but he doesn't seem to mind the assistance.
Well, let's get you to a healer.
And where would that be?
Well, I'm sure there's got to be a healer around here somewhere. They're civilized enough. Look, they've got fish in here. We're in a building. There's people out there. I'm sure there's a healer somewhere. You just have to ask around.
Okay.
There's a stool in here. Nikolai will take that and carry it in his left hand.
Sure, there's a stool. Kind of old, beat-up stool. It only has 3 legs, but it's supposed to have 3 legs. All right. Okay, you guys venture out, and it sounds like you're going to ask around to see if there is a healer. And someone on the street, kind of, when you ask for a healer, they look at you very with great concern and like cover their face, and he just kind of points like this way and says, the sisters of Shalier in the warehouses over there, they're healing for nothing.
Well, that's the perfect price then. Let's be off.
And he
Take him to the sisters.
He just hurries on. He does not want to be around you very long.
So I start assisting him by holding on to him, and we start walking in the direction
Okay.
where they pointed the sister.
Is everyone going along?
Yeah, I've got no reason not to.
Okay.
I'm carrying this rat with me as well.
All right. You kind of, it takes a little bit of wandering around and asking, but the warehouse is apparently right over here. In fact, you can, you see somebody kind of going in the door right here. And there is a woman outside, and you see her kind of slumped, leaning against the wall, and she's kind of wiping. Looks like she's been crying. She's wiping her eyes a little bit and just looking down at her feet very dejectedly.
Andolph will continue walking him in. He'll look at the woman crying and won't really pay her any heed and continue walking him into the healer.
Okay. Yep, she just kind of looks at you for a moment, but takes no particular interest. And inside, you can see the warehouse has been set up with every available inch is taken up with people in little, not even cots. They're just like blankets or straw on the floor. It's jam-packed full of people. The sound of coughing is almost deafening. And you see what are clearly some sisters of Shalia moving amongst them.
Sister, can we get some help here? We've got a friend and he's wounded. Help us, anyone in here? He's kind of like, he's looking around to anyone for help.
One of the sisters here kind of looks at you and she takes a look around and she says, you can try to squeeze him in over there, and points over here. It looks like there's maybe enough of a empty spot for him to lie down.
So Andolph will turn to him and look him right in the eye and said, you're going to stay here right now. They're going to take a look after you. They'll tend to your wounds, but for the time being, you stay put and you do whatever it is they tell you to do. You're not going to leave this place until you're better, or we come back after you. Do you understand?
He looks around. He doesn't look too happy, but he coughs, and when he coughs, you can see it causes him pain in his side where he was wounded, and he just kind of reluctantly nods and goes and sits down against the wall.
Very good.
And
all right then.
The sister kind of ignores you at that point. She was in the middle of something, so.
All right. Well, you all take care of him now. All right, well, we'll be back.
Yeah. Lucius is gonna make a point of trying to get, one of the sisters to acknowledge him here. Just kind of approach the nearest one that kind of walked past. Pardon, have you been able to identify the source of this illness yet?
She looks at you, and you see she looks a little perplexed, and she says, not so far, no. It is a mystery.
Have you been able to inspect any of these giant beasts? And just kind of gesture to the rat over my shoulder.
Her face immediately grimaces into kind of a horrified look, and it looks like she's about to scream, and then she just kind of stops herself and says, what use have I of that?
Perhaps to study, see if they've communicated any of this illness around?
This woman sees you with this rat in your hand, and she comes over and kind of steps up to you, and she says, what's the meaning of this? And she points at the rat. Why do you bring that into a house of sick people?
Trying to identify the cause of this illness. This might be the source. Have none of you the experience to identify such things?
She said, well, we have tried, and the apothecary had promised to give us assistance, but he has not come.
Where is he located?
He lives down the street, across from the jail.
Then I will be rid of this rat in his care. I thank you for your time.
She says,
Nikolai would have been. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
no, she just kind of puts her hands on her hips and frowns as you go out, and you hear her say to Sister, "Don't let anyone else bring in such filthy creatures in the future." And she says, "But yes, Mother Superior," and she walks away. As you walk out,
Nikolai's a little day late, dollar short to the whole social encounter. He's been fidgeting with Sobaka, basically. Niet, stay here, stay, pooch, stay. And then Andolph comes bumping past him. He kind of gives a puzzled look, and then he hears the Doomsayer give his spiel, and then the Doomsayer comes, and as he's basically clearing out the doorway to let room for him, he's just like, "What? We're not going to have sisters look at us?"
did we lose him?
No, I'm back. I had to refresh. There's some issues with my mic that's going on.
Okay.
I'm good now.
Yeah, Nikolai just asked you, as you're going by, are we not gonna get looked at?
Well, have you looked in there? Have you seen all the people in there? Do you think they have an idea of how to take care of this? I don't think they do. I think they're just trying to treat everyone's symptoms. They're not curing anyone. But you can ask if you feel like you need to ask.
The young woman hears you say that, and she says, "It seems there's no cure for it."
Well, now, I'm sorry there, lady. I didn't mean to say there's no cure for it. I just don't think they have it just yet. But I've seen it in the stars. There's a cure. We're all gonna be healed. It's all gonna get better. I can promise you that.
She looks at you uncertainly, and she says, "What have you seen in the stars?" And you can see she looks better dressed than most of the people in this neighborhood. And she says, "What makes you say that? Are you a seer of some sort?"
Well, I'm a seer of all things related to the stars. They show me what I need to know. And what I need to know, apparently, is that everyone will return to their lives happy and healthy. Children running in their parks. People going to work. Your husband, or whoever it might be, returning to your arms. It'll happen. I can guarantee that.
She says, I've no husband. I doubt my father would let me marry anyone. He's far too protective. I'm not one of his soldiers. But he seems to treat me like I am.
Treat you like a soldier? Well, you don't look anything else. You don't look anything near like a soldier. I mean, look at that short one over there, and he points to the dwarf. That there, that's a soldier.
I just mean he orders me about like I'm one of his men.
Oh, I understand what you're saying.
Who is your father?
The captain of the Talbheim. And she suddenly stops herself and says, "I shouldn't have told you that. Don't tell him I'm here." Well, I don't suppose you'd be able to speak to him anyway. He doesn't know I'm here. I don't think he'd be very pleased.
I don't know who the Talbheim are. Is that the guard?
That is the massive fortress that is at the top of the crater that you must pass through to get into the city.
Your father guards the gateway into the city, eh?
He is the captain.
Well, what you doing out here then?
I came to help the sisters, offer my services. I refuse to sit at home and do nothing.
Well, that's very kind of you. Very sweet indeed.
Kind and sweet, but pointless, it seems.
Oh, it does seem that way, I guess. I think the gloomy-looking one over there, he's got an idea of what might be causing this. And he points over to Lucius.
Well, if you know something, you should share it with the sisters. They need all the help they can get.
They don't seem very keen to have giant rats being observed in that den of illness.
She looks at the rat and she kind of smiles a little bit and says, I'm not sure I blame them. Who would want that thing in there?
Likely no one, but there might be a connection. We ran afoul of many, many rats of this size just last night. Nearly killed our man that we brought in here.
What about your father? Would he be interested in something like this? Seems like a captain of the guard, wanting to protect this city.
I don't know.
He might want to
Perhaps.
know about this.
Maybe, if you can get to him. Not easy. They don't let anyone up at the castle gate anymore. Or
Well, what
fortress
about
gate.
you?
Well, of course he'd let me.
Well, would you mind making introductions for us? We only want to help.
We can't bring illness into the city. We're all sick.
But magistrates still owe us money. We not get paid for taking people to Bright Blood.
She looks at the curious little dwarf, but has nothing to say to that. Doesn't seem to quite follow you. She said, I don't know if even my father would let me into the city now that I've been down here and exposed. He's very much a man of duty.
You should not travel alone then.
I'm not alone, I'm with the sisters.
You do not stray from here. Seem like you would be the right target for someone wishing to try to get force way into city. Not healthy
Well,
for a young
apart
woman.
from you and the sisters, no one knows who I am, and I'd appreciate it if you'd keep it that way.
Nikolai no care about human affair, but he do have some concern for general safety.
Yes, well, the dwarf, he's always saying, safety first, safety first.
She looks at him, an odd thing to be saying all the time.
You turn back on bear and circus. See if you don't always adhere to safety.
I don't think I've ever had occasion to turn my back on a bear.
Nikolai, he always safe.
Lady, when we first walked up, you were in tears. What was that all about?
It's just so hopeless here. I came here to help, but it doesn't seem there's much I can do, and I
Do they
feel
have
I'm just
any
getting in the way.
ideas? Do they have any ideas at all what might be going on?
Well, if they do, they haven't told me. The Mother Superior, Mother Hilda, has tried
Nikolai will
all
be-
of her arts, and it seems to have no...
Nikolai's biting his bottom lip pretty hard and twisting at the same side of his mustache as if he's like feeling guilty about something. Ultimately, he'll relent, start talking. He'll go, if woman does wish to truly help, Nikolai may know something you can do, but I would not advise going back there alone. Then I'll recant the story about the little girl, the simple-minded girl, lost mother. Mother already dead, but it does not register to little girl. Her mind is too far gone. She'll be dead if left alone.
Oh dear.
Perhaps we can go there. If she's still alive, bring her back here to the sisters.
Well, that sounds like a worthy cause. Could you
She
direct me
would-
to her?
I will take you there. I do not speak for others, but I will not let you go alone.
I'll go, but after this I think we need to go see the apothecary to bring in this damned rat. Starting to make my shoulder wet.
She, that, your offer seems to perk her up a bit. And she says, let me just get my shawl and we can go. And she steps inside and, she comes out with a rather nicely embroidered shawl to put around her shoulders, and she says,
Nikolai's shaking his head.
she says, well, lead on, Master Dwarf.
Sobaka, come! And wherever the heck we were.
Yep, that's, you just take her down along the dock in that direction. If you go far enough, you come to the old hovel. And you see that the little girl is there, and she is lying next to her mother, and you can see that she is coughing and not well. And Christiane goes to her and says some soft, kind words, and helps her and tries to pick her up, and then says we should get her back soon. She doesn't look well at all. And you hear the little girl kind of muttering for her mom, but she doesn't. She's kind of too weak to do anything. So Christiane and you all take the kid back.
On the way back, Andolph will kind of stride up next to Lucius. You know, he's, over twice his height. But he'll list a little bit off to the side towards Lucius.
Twice
That
his
was
height? I don't think so.
I don't know. I don't know about all that.
How
my
tall is the
man.
dwarf?
Oh, okay. The twice. I thought you were talking about Lucius. You mean Nikolai?
Oh, I'm sorry, Nikolai.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
Nikolai.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I meant Nikolai,
Yep, yep.
not Lucius.
Okay.
And because he's easily twice the height of Nikolai. And he'll lean over and kind of list off to the side. Boy, that was a very good idea you had there. Saving that girl, that's a good thing. Already, I've seen it in the stars. Things are going to get better. And already, they're getting better for that girl, thanks to you. Good job, Nikolai.
It sounds like Nikolai just does not answer.
Is
He
in
was
his own
greatly
world.
touched by your kind
Yes,
words.
he's deeply touched.
He was moved.
Did he drop?
Either that or he's just having trouble. with
Oh,
his mind.
yeah, he dropped.
Yeah, he dropped.
Oh, what is going on?
I know he was talking about thunderstorms and stuff, but I think he's good now. Maybe it's an internet issue.
Yeah.
Give him a few moments.
And dude's not making it either, so guess who's gonna get really, really sick?
Dude.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, Francis says, I think if it's all the same to you, I should probably go in there and keep Torrent company.
You too, big boy. Oh, Well, very well then. You can sit with him, help keep an eye on the place. Looks like there's a lot of women and children in there. They'd do well to have you at their sides.
Even if he's going to take up 3 spaces and 2.5 meals a day.
He just looks at you glumly and says nothing. But he goes and he says to Christiane, you're staying too, aren't you? And she says, well, of course I have to look after the little one. He goes, oh, I don't mind helping. I can be help. And they go in. And she, again, she thanks you. Oh, we've lost Nikolai. But she thanks Nikolai. And says to Lucius, I do hope you're right about whatever it is you think is causing this.
We'll see. If not, well, so be it. Stab that right over my shoulder.
Okay. All right. And then there were 3. Or sort of 3.
Yeah.
He'll be back,
Yeah, I'm sure.
I believe.
I believe it. Well, we might as well take a very quick break then.
Sure. I'm going to go grab some water. I will pause my recording. Oh.
So, you have dropped off both Torrin and Francis, and now there are 3 of you. So,
Well, now that we've lost a considerable amount of weight, are we all going to the apothecary?
Well, I do think that's probably a bright idea right there. Let's go ahead and take this vermin in. That apothecary's got to have a good idea of what might be happening.
Maybe.
If they even still there. God tells me the only ones we find going to be very greedy.
Probably. Price gouging would make sense.
Do we know where we're going?
Yeah. She said across the street from the jailhouse. Right?
mm-hmm.
Okay. I believe the jailhouse is down here.
It is.
Very far.
All right.
Yeah, I'll run you.
All right, you make your way down to the jailhouse. And looking about, you see a sign here that looks like a little mortar and pestle at the corner here.
Well, that looks about right.
And there is a door down here.
Well, very well then. Let's go in and introduce ourselves.
All right.
I can't get through.
There is a little bell a little bell rope you can pull.
Yes, I did that. Didn't you hear my
I did
ding-a-ling?
hear the ding-a-ling. Nothing.
Ding-a-ling-ling.
Yep. There's no immediate response.
Big dwarven fist on the door. Rop, rop, rop.
Check the window if that leads in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's the windows are a little grimy, but you can see inside. You don't see anybody moving about in there.
God damn it.
Well,
Kick
was
the
a-
door in frustration.
You do what?
well, he kicks the door.
Kicking
in
the door.
frustration.
Yeah.
Make a make an athletics check for me, please. With this is make a -20. Or just -10. Yours. Wow. All right. You kick on the door and it actually breaks in. You loosen the latch with your first hard hitting on the door, and now in your frustration you've kicked the door in.
Immediately go to the oh shit face, like, oh.
Yeah, I'll look at the dwarf and look behind me and... Well...
Assess
Andal's
the damage.
Andal's just looking up and down the cobblestone roadway here, looking to see if there's anyone around.
The streets aren't very well traveled these days, so it's you see someone way down at the end, down that way at the end of the alley, but they don't seem to take any notice of you.
Well, I don't know if you meant to do that, Nikolai, but it's looking around. I don't see any harm in going in since the door is now open.
Well, yes, but the door was only open because he kicked it.
No one knows that.
Well, we know that.
Did not mean to break door. Just
See?
make Nikolai angry. No one here. He'll look at you and just kind of frown deep. Just like, pop head inside. See if anyone's there.
Complete accident. I'm sure I'll be able to explain it to the proprietor if we bump into him.
He'll kind of cross his arms and go, magistrate can take payment for door out of my own pay if we ever see it.
I'm just gonna go in rather brazen.
Mm-hmm.
Hello?
Andal's gonna stand outside, wringing his hands and looking up and down the alleyways.
Okay. There's no answer.
Sigmar's teeth, worthless apothecary, right when you need him in a plague. Go around and try some of these doors.
Yeah, the door is unlocked.
With his back to the door, Andalf will arch his head to the right as if he's kind of talking into the doorway.
Mm-hmm.
Have you found anything in there?
No! Why don't you come in here and help me look?
I don't know if I quite want to be party to that.
You already are! You're standing outside! You're a lookout!
Well, and he looks over to Nikolai. Oh, I guess he's got a point there. I am acting as a lookout right now. That does kind of make me a party to this whole endeavor.
When you stepped right here, Lucius, you see a man sitting in the chair there. Kind of, he looks like he's bent over the table. It looks like he might be writing something.
What say you, Nikolai? Should we go in?
I've yelled several times.
Did we lose Nikolai again?
No, I'm here.
Oh, okay.
Loading up chaw.
I'm gonna...
Nikolai, he's still looking nervous at the door, and he ultimately just shrugs. He's like, do what you wish. And he'll stand in the doorway, but it's more like to pull the door and fiddle with the latch to see if there's any way he can fix it.
He might be able to do some work on it to fix it, but it's not like he's gonna gonna just bend something back into place and have everything.
This man
stable.
moving that I can tell, like, actively? Or...
Andolph walks in and he sees Lucius standing there. Have you found anything yet?
So you are you can attempt to make geez, I forget what the spot skill is in this.
Perception?
Perception.
Awareness?
Awareness. Yeah, I think it's awareness. Too many skills from too many games.
Too many games, yeah.
All right. Yeah, you're not really sure.
What is it you're looking at?
Quiet.
You see a man at this desk here, with his back to you.
Pardon, sir?
There is no response and no movement.
I'm gonna look back at Andolph, kind of.
Is he, is he...
Don't touch him.
Andolph has a quarterstaff, and he takes his staff, and he pushes it forward and touches the guy on the shoulder, like kind of gives him a little nudge on the on his left shoulder.
Mm-hmm. He slumps a little further onto the desk.
Oh.
And you can make a perception check as you do that as well, please.
Perception or awareness?
Awareness, yeah. You see a little shiny something in the man's neck.
And Andolph looks over at Lucius. Do you see that right there in his neck? Looks like he's got something sticking out of it.
Let us take a closer look.
I don't think this is the sickness that got him.
Yeah, I want to go take a look at
we
this
just
neck.
walk up basically now and start to
Yeah.
him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's an older man. Yeah, the thing in his neck looks like this.
Oh.
I'm gonna pull that out. What in Sigmar's name?
You can see that it's tinged in along the blades. You can see it's been some little paste or something has been smeared on it. That's now fairly dry.
Fumbling about with the door, Nikolai would hear them as if they were addressing somebody. Then when he sees them go out at eyesight, he will definitely come in, shut the door behind him as best it will shut.
Yeah, it'll shut. It just won't stay closed very well. I mean, someone can easily push it open, but it sort of shuts into place at least.
Yeah, and he'll begrudgingly make his way in to where he sees the two of them over somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any kind of like folklore or any kind of tests that might let me know of what might be happening around here? Like any history in this area, or I don't know, or even who uses these types of weapons, or...
You can try a folklore, but you can use folklore or education, but that's going to be at a -30. That's a very, very obscure piece of info. But I'll give you a shot at it. Nope.
I don't think I've ever seen anything quite like this.
What did you two find?
The apothecary is dead. Murdered.
He's murdered and he's got this stuck in his neck.
Nikolai will be like 1 foot up and advance towards y'all, and he will spin on heel and place that foot down in the opposite direction. Slowly making his way back towards the exit.
The dog looks
I'm
confused.
going to go back and work on this door now.
The dog's wagging his tail and looking confused, but goes back with you.
Just sort of look over the desk and see if he was writing anything in particular.
Yeah, he was writing some stuff. The desk is covered with papers and mortar and pestles and tubes of liquids and things like. It's quite a mess, and not shown on here too. He's got like a little workbench that he's got set up with some stuff on it too. Looks like he was, definitely working on some stuff.
Endolf, can you read any of this? I can't read.
We should leave. Report to the town watch that there was a break-in and a murder.
So they can tell us to do it? They aren't going to come out of their little hidey hole across the street.
Or worse, they'll think that we had something to do with it. We don't need them looking at us with suspicious eyes. After all, you did kick the door in.
I did not kill that one, though.
So, Andolph will turn his eyes toward the desk, pick up some papers, and start reading them.
Okay. The papers you pick up first look like they are they're excerpts from a book that is not here. You kind of look around and don't see it, but because he actually noted, excerpts from, and the book is called The Plague and the Principality. And it looks like he has handwritten out some copies of passages that he's found. And here, I'll show you a bit. Actually, just to you, because you're the only one that can read, aren't you?
Yep. And Andolph's standing there, and he's nodding his head as he looks down at these papers. Kind of going back and forth. He has one paper in his left hand, one in his right hand.
So I'm adding a couple of things. I think you should be able to see them in your handouts.
Okay.
I will tell Sobaka to stay at the doorway. Hopefully he is a guard.
He kind of looks at you with his head half cocked to the side like, huh?
He'll make his way and I'm assuming he can see them reading over the papers, but if his attention's drawn to the throwing star, I have folklore if you want me to roll to see.
Yeah, I would have it in my hand, just looking at it. I can't read, so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, you don't know. I was giving one of you a chance. That was your best shot. Nobody knows about it.
And Andolph is just saying, well, and he's looking at the papers, and then he kind of looks up as if he's looking at a thought in the air. And then he looks back down at the papers and shakes his head. Well, it looks like he was onto something here. He understood that this is a disease taking place. This old book, The Plague and the Principality. Looks like he's been drawing some inspiration from this. Here, listen to this. It's one of the notations found in the margins of this book. It's a Chilean book, plague in the principality it is. This here passage, it refers to a disease called the Pale Shivers. It ravaged the Chilean city of Miragliano several centuries ago at that. One sentence, though, has been underlined. It states that the Pale Shivers was debilitating, not fatal. But right here, it says enhanced how, to what purpose? I think maybe he thinks someone took that old disease and made it worse.
Heresy!
Well, he's also got an idea of maybe how it's being transmitted. It's in the water. In the water it was, but why? Only temporary. And then it cuts off right there. I think maybe that's when he went on to meet one of his makers.
Nikolai looks like he's about to ask a question, but then when you say that it was cut off like that, he immediately shifts about and starts scanning the room and surroundings to make sure that they're indeed alone.
Mm-hmm.
Someone didn't want him to get this information out. He was on to something. But I think it's what got him killed.
Damn it. I bet it's cultists. They like their strange weaponry. He throws this little star on the ground, not caring for it.
Well, we have something to work with here. There's the old book plague in the principality and the old disease Pale Shivers. Something has been done with that. Someone's making it worse. Someone's brought it back and made it worse. And they've infected the water, it looks like. Well, at least this man thought. And it got him killed, so I think maybe he might have been on the right track.
Nikolai's listening intently as he's looking around to make sure they're alone. Suddenly stops with a minor look of horror, realization upon his face. And he goes, if they are killing healers, he says, do you think the sisters and, oh God, what was her name? The noble lady. Do you think that they would be in jeopardy as well?
I don't know that they're killing healers. I think they're killing anyone who might be able to figure out a cure. Those ladies, I don't think they have an idea of how to cure this. This gentleman, he had an idea. He had an idea of where it came from, and he had an idea of how it's being spread.
And now so do we.
I think that's what got him killed. The
We should
sisters
get
are safe.
We should get these to authorities. And what was her name? I can't find
Karina.
her.
Karina.
Yeah, we should take these to the authorities and escort Karina back to the safety of her father.
Yes, well, we must tread carefully, though. It does not look good that we broke in here, and he's dead.
We also now know what he knows, which, if there are watchful eyes upon us or listening ears, we have now been implicated in his findings. Let's tread carefully.
Yes, that's true, Lucius. And Andolph, he is deeply aware of what Lucius is saying and takes it to heart as he rolls up the papers and puts them in a pocket inside of his robe.
And as you're rolling them up, another piece of paper catches your eye that is written in a different hand.
What's this here? Well, now this is interesting. And Andolph is like rubbing his chin with his right hand as he holds the paper with his left hand, and he's reading it and nodding his head. Well, yeah, I might as well just read this to the both of you. It says, "Good sir, here is the sample of which we spoke. Tell no one. Weidenhoft. I cannot emphasize this enough. Tell no one. Their eyes are everywhere. Walk with all speed. Tal preserves us. Our near house. Our near house. Does that name ring a bell to either of you?
Does it?
You can make a... let's see. Make a rumor check. See if that name comes up. I'll give you a +10.
Can we all make a rumor check?
Yes, I'll let you all do it. Well, you certainly have heard that name before. Near House, at least. Near House is the captain of the Talbaston.
Oh.
Captain Near House.
Oh, is that the dad of?
Yep. Well, that's fortuitous.
That is woman's father. We definitely need to get her back to the safety of the castle.
You put the +10 in, Andolph. That's why it failed. You still put regular 10.
Oh, you just got it. Yeah, you just got
So you would have had a 51 and failed.
it.
We should make haste.
Well then, Lucius and Nikolai remind me of where we've heard that name before.
That's what it said. It said this woman, I can't remember, you said her name's Coriana. It said it is Coriana's father.
Christian.
Oh, yeah.
You're good.
Should we look around here for any more information? And Lucius does kind of a quick check of the room, of the storefront area, of anything else that might be of any assistance.
I think the less time we linger, the better now. We've got what seems to be the most important piece of information.
Well, he might have been working on a cure too. We don't know unless we look.
All right. On the work table, there are a number of items of some interest. I'm just going to show it to everyone. You'll have to obviously translate the words, but everyone can see.
So I go ahead and I point out the items on the table, and I start translating it. Oh, it says this one right here. It says an antidote. This one here says one bell after dawn in Talbheim. And this one here says river extract. And they can see what's in the bowl.
Mm-hmm.
One bell after dawn. Maybe meeting signal. River extract. You said it was in the water?
That's
The
what
sickness?
that's what his note says. It says the sickness might be in the water there.
So the river extract might be something that he needed. And the antidote, that's pretty clear. We should take that for certain and keep it safe.
Sound like he tasted some of the water somehow. Used alchemy. Perhaps this is poison. And he'll point to the river extract powder. Yes, perhaps this is poison that was found in water. You find a way to to negate it.
And then made that antidote. Perhaps. I think we bring along what we can.
I think we need to take all this with us and take it to an apothecary into the city. Someone with some knowledge and education who knows what to do with this.
Indeed. But
Yes, well, let's gather this up. We must be on our way. This
Yes,
is important information.
we've tarried here far too long. Then I guess Andolph would carry it since he's the safest hide in the bag, so with his salt circles.
Indeed.
Yep. So Andolph grabs it all up, seals it as best he can, and again tucks it away in his rather large robe. His robes are filled with little pocket sleeves and everything on the inside.
Mm-hmm.
Lucius will peek outside and look left to right.
You can attempt an awareness with a -20.
Oh, I must stay out here.
Get off my back, Andolph.
Well.
Yeah.
Looks all clear to you.
All right. Walk out.
Well, let's be on our way. We have important business. Now we must talk to that woman again, back at the sisters.
Yes, let's not tarry.
We have her father's name written down. This is important. This is important stuff here.
Mm-hmm. And just discard the rat that I no longer need.
Just throw it on the side of the road.
Yeah, I don't care. Someone will clean it up.
Some hungry homeless guy just comes and grabs it. Oh, thank you,
Perfect.
kind sir.
Uh-huh. Let's continue.
Ain't thinking it's such just some wild animal.
Okay. And it sounds like you are heading back up.
Yeah.
So yeah, you get there. I'm just gonna move you all there quickly
Thank you.
to save your effort. So you are back without incident. Although I expect you are eyeing every person you see suspiciously.
Yes.
But,
We
but
are.
nothing happens. There aren't that many people, as I said. Most people are now staying indoors or and only out when they really must be. Although actually, before you get back, as you are walking there, you hear coming from the west, which actually is unfortunately this way on the map. It's a little disoriented. Towards the crater, you hear kind of the roar of a crowd, which you probably have. It sounds like the sound of what, as you might imagine. I don't think any of you have ever been in battle, but it sounds kind of like the cries of a large group of people that are charging or making ready to fight.
What in the name of Sigmar was that?
And it's not immediately close by, but as you look up the here, if I kind of show you, if you look up the Wizard's Way from where you guys are, you can see in the winding path up there, you see a mass of, you're guessing, anywhere from 300 to 400 people making their way up the path, and you can see them waving what look to be like spears and sticks and pitchforks and things like that.
Can you ping it? Where's the Wizard's Way?
Yeah, right there.
There, okay.
Yeah, you guys are down here. You're going along the Wizard's Road, and that eventually leads up the Wizard's Way to the Talbheim here, to the castle, the High Watch.
Do you hear that? Sounds like the sounds of the townsfolk trying to get into the city.
Oh, they'll probably be killed by the dozens. I'm sure those guards have handguns there.
And almost on cue, as you say that, you hear cannons erupt from the towers and start decimating this group of people, and bodies are flying everywhere, and you hear screams, and some of them keep going, and they're torn to shreds, and finally it all lasts about less than a minute, and maybe 100 survivors run back down or limp back down if they're wounded. And the whatever that was easily repulsed.
Quickly, all the more reason to go back to the sisters. These people have obviously lost their minds. Fear and panic courses through their veins. No telling what they would do trying to demand treatment from the women.
Yes, we must hurry before those idiots get back down here. They were fools to go on the guardhouse in force. They never had a chance.
Well, yes, I do agree with you. I think we ought to get back there right away.
Start hustling a bit.
Mm-hmm.
That's bad news.
There were a few people that came out to see what all the ruckus was, and you see people kind of shaking their heads and making the sign of Sigmar or Tal, depending.
People are all getting desperate. They want to get into a place that they think is safer, that will keep them healthy. Well, I don't think they quite understand this disease. It will follow them. It will go with them.
I have my suspicion the city is going to be invaded.
Yes, probably by cultists. Spits on the ground. Miserable, taking advantage. Makes sense, though. These times are the end.
Poison water killed most of locals.
Well, let's see what we can do about this. We've got some information now that might be helpful.
Keep your wits about you, Andolph. You carry very important burdens.
Boy, well, you watch my back. I'll watch your back.
Yeah, Nikolai's not one for much subtlety when he gets near the healer's place. He's gonna slam the door open, be breathing heavy.
Okay. You walk in and you can see little Yankolin over here, and you can see Christian is feeding her from a bowl, and Francis is standing there looking kind of useless, but like he's trying to help.
Yeah.
And
Hey, you got to eat it like this.
Here, let me show you.
yeah. And he just kind of glances over his shoulder, like he's just kind of looking around because there's not much for him to do, and he sees you, and he immediately
Lingering.
Yeah, Nikolai would have pretty much strode past the nurses to get to the lady, and then if they acknowledge him being so brusque in his moving, he'll quickly turn to one of them. He's like going, "We need to speak to Sister Superior."
The sister here, when she sees Lucius, she just looks at you and looks at your hands immediately, and she says, "You're not bringing that filthy creature in here again, are you?"
No, I threw it on the road. We have for someone else.
Well, she points out. She says your friend is resting comfortably over there, and points to Torin, and
No.
your large friend is I suppose trying to help.
Fine, and a great help I'm sure he is. Pardon.
Once again, not being so subtle and knowing he's about to cross a really, in his mind, a severe line. If she was dwarven, Nikolai will get near Christiana and he will actually grab her wrist and kind of pull her towards him. And he's like going, "You'll need to stay with us. I got the bad feeling that we're about to be."
She looks at you and you kind of grab her arm, and she's startled, and she says, "What's the matter now?"
Take a deep breath, and hopefully the other nurse is saying, when I said we need to speak to your Sister Superior. Also, the townsfolk have attacked the castle of Wizard's Way. They were repulsed and many are dead. What survivors are fleeing back into the city. I do not think it is safe here for you. Any of you.
The mother comes over. She says, "What was that sound of cannon?"
Snap with a little flustered look in his face. Like I said, the townsfolk, in their fear and panic of the outbreak, have decided to try to lay siege to the city walls. As we saw a large army go up the Wizard's Way, and only a small handful report or fall back after being shot down and cut down.
You see for a moment a small look of despair kind of passes over her face, and but she immediately kind of stiffens up, and she says, and she looks over the four of you, and she says, "Well, I'm going to need you all to help bring the wounded back here then. I'll have to see if I can commandeer another warehouse." She points out a couple of sisters, and she says, "Go with them and get the wounded. Take stretchers, you'll need them." And a couple of sisters start to move. And
They're telling
us
to help?
She looks at the four of you and says, "Well, don't stand there. There's people probably dying while you wait. Be quick about it."
I would go into Nikolai's ear. "Say nothing, dwarf. We may be able to play this to our advantage. See if we can get Christiane to go along with us."
Well, I think I can get Christiane to go along with us, and Andolph will kind of, stride up next to Christiane, and "Milady, we could use your help right now. It seems your father might have an idea of what's going on. We need to get access to him." And then he pulls a letter out, and he looks around, makes sure that no one's really paying attention to him right now, since everything else is
At the moment, no. The two sisters are gathering up stretchers and trying to get Francis and Nikolai and Lucius to help gather up some stretchers.
And as they're doing that, he shows her the letter, assuming that she's educated. Right there. Isn't that your father's name on this letter?
She looks at it and says, "It is. Who is this man? Who's this
Well,
Wittenhoff?"
I don't know who Wittenhoff is. He might be an apothecary. He might be someone else.
Not here. Not here, Andolph, you fool.
But we need access to your father, and you're our best chance. You need to come with us. If you care about these people, and I think you do, if you care about this young girl, and I think you do, you want to see them all get better, I think you do. And he continues to look around the room as they're bustling about doing their thing. You need to help us get access to your father.
She looks not happy about that. You can make a what am I looking for? Charm? Is that what I want?
Oh yeah, I'm a charming motherfucker.
Yeah, make a charm check with a plus 30. It's a pretty compelling argument. She doesn't really want to go, but okay. She says, "If I go, I doubt my father will let me come back. And who will look after the girl?"
Well, the priestesses shall. They will look after them. They're doing a good job now, don't you think? But just think, with your aid, you could put an end to all of this. You don't have to be here physically to help them. You can help them in other ways. You can help them by helping us.
All right.
Help
all right.
us, help
All
them.
right, all right, she says. "I will come."
Nikolai will approach the Mother Superior, or Mother Hilda.
Mm-hmm.
He'll go up to her and he'll just go, "Tell me, Mother," he says, "do you by chance have clothes that you would give the needy? I am looking for a hood and cloak." So the captain's daughter sticks out like a sore thumb. These people's minds are not in the right spot.
She points to a heap of old clothes and stuff over there, and she says, "Those are the clothes of the dead. You can help yourself."
Okay. Calmer hesitation. He'll go over and try to find something. It's not all soaked in sweat,
Well,
bile. Yeah.
let's not be too picky.
Good luck.
You find something acceptable, let's say, that will do
Okay.
that will do the trick.
Once again, going through all the taboo breaking. He'll basically basically he wants something to cover her head features up with. He'll go and he'll just, whenever she makes eye contact and acknowledges him approaching, he'll throw the cloak at her. He'll go, "Put this on."
To her,
Yeah.
she looks at it with momentary disdain, and she says, "Why should I wear that? I have my own shawl. I'll be fine."
The people outside are desperate. Now their minds are filled with pain. He says, "They may see you and think that they can grab you and force their way into the city like I mentioned before. You must take precaution not to draw any attention to self."
If you insist. She
"Yes, I insist."
kind of wrinkles her nose and looks at it. Her upbringing shows itself here.
Yeah, definitely.
She puts it on, and you can see the the naked disdain for this, but she wears it, and she says, "Ugh, it's horribly uncomfortable and scratchy." She says, "Honestly, I don't know how these people do it."
Well, you're about to find out. As I'm grabbing some supplies for the sisters.
Okay. And the two are ready to go. You guys are loaded up with stretchers. Well, yeah, a couple. The sisters and the mother, as you guys are getting ready, the mother, Hilda, says, "And impress anyone you find along the way. Tell them in the name of Shalia they must help you, and they will have me to answer to if they refuse." And
Yes, mother. Yes, mother. Well, of course, mother. Thank you very much.
all right.
I guess Nikolai will put down the stool that he's had this entire time and pick up a stretcher now instead.
Yes, you'll trade your
That's
stools
right,
for stretchers.
It's like swords.
Swords into plowshares, yeah.
Do we have any money?
Very
Oh,
little.
shoot, I'm glad you said that. When you were picking through the guy's things, you also found a little sack with some gold coins in it amongst the stuff.
Looks like we've murdered him. Let's rob
to
him.
the tune of approximately 40 gold crowns.
Oh, shit.
So that's up to you what you want to do about that. But I did forget to mention that rummaging among the things as you were looking around, you did find that.
Burial tax.
Andolph, at that time would not have taken that.
Okay.
He found a murdered man in his home, in his occupation, and would have left that there for any relative or anyone who was due that inheritance.
Or any looter that finds that door's been opened.
Exactly.
That door's been kicked open.
It just reinforces our lie/alibi later on.
Yeah.
The door was already broke. We went
No.
inside, found men dead.
I don't want that gold on my person.
Blood gold.
Yeah, what gold? I didn't see any gold.
Yeah, y'all two were already over the body, so y'all would have not taken it. And then Nikolai
But,
wouldn't have known about it. Otherwise, he probably would have took it.
Mm-hmm.
Where would I find coin on our persons that we do have? Do we
On
have
your
any?
character sheet, you would have some listed, but I don't think there is much. It's actually, strangely enough, on the combat tab. Where
that
the
makes
money
sense.
is. Well, that's just because in the official Zweihänder character sheet, it is right after the combat section, so they just stuck it right there on the combat tab. So yeah, you have some small bits of coins between you,
So,
but nowhere near 40 gold crowns, I can tell you.
yeah, Andolph goes up to the mother, and he takes out 2 silver coins, and he says, "Oh, well, I hope this helps you in whatever you can do to help these people here. You're doing the Lord's work, and I just want to say thank you." And he hands her 2 silver coins.
She looks at them and looks at you, and she nods her head in thanks, and said, "Shalia, bless you, and for your generosity and your concern for the poor and suffering. She
thank
aids
you, Mother.
those
Thank
who
you.
aid others."
And we're off.
All right, we need a bio break. Nikolai is off, so
I'll pause it.
pause. Okay, so it sounds like you are preparing to go out. And do you recruit helpers along the way?
Of course. Attempt to, anyway.
Yeah. All right.
We're going to pawn this work off on them, if I have my way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if you scroll down, you can see your tokens are in the bottom right corner. You can all try leadership checks for me. With and since you are doing it in the name of the Shalian priestess, I'm going to give you a plus 20. Most people, especially when there is plague, don't want to piss off the goddess.
Good call.
Yeah, we still had to flip it unless we have a skill point.
You do, yep.
I don't.
Nope.
No, I do have one. I do have a
You
skill
do?
point.
All right.
I said, yeah, I don't have to flip it.
Succeed. All right.
I do, but that doesn't become a 37, does it?
No.
No, it doesn't work to, it
Don't have
doesn't work to your
fail.
advantage, yeah. All right, so Lucius is the one who kind of, which kind of makes sense. He's whipping these people into shape with the threat of damnation at the hands of
Either come out and help the dead and wounded, or become one.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
Get off your lazy arse, pick up this stretcher, and get these dead people off the front gate.
All right.
Or Sigmar preserve you.
Okay. So by the time you make your way up the Wizard's Way, you have a coterie of probably 25 people that you've impressed into service along the way.
Whew.
So you no longer have to carry the stretchers if you don't want to.
Oh yeah, I would hand that off to the first couple
Of
guys.
course.
Take this stretcher.
Yep.
And then I'd just walk behind him, yelling at everybody else to do the same thing.
You there, you are taller. Keep the level balanced.
A couple of them, object and say they don't want to get shot. We don't want to end up at the other end of a cannonball. But a couple others say, "Don't be a fool. They'd never fire on the Sisters of Shalia. Just make sure the sisters walk in front."
Yes, a man with good sense. I mean, just pretty much.
All right.
That'd be
You-
that.
Well, not only that, let's make sure that they can see the captain's daughter. They definitely won't fire on her.
That's why we put her in a shawl, though, so they wouldn't see
they
her.
wouldn't know who that is. You're almost certain they'd have no idea who that is the way she's dressed now. So, yep, you make your way up to where the wounded are. And there's a big lot of them. You would guess there's probably up to about 100 dead up here.
Yeah.
The cannons were very effective, and under the sisters' direction, they start putting the bodies on stretchers. And Christiane makes to start helping.
And it's sort of stop her. Your task is elsewhere. I point to the gatehouse.
Andolph looks at her and he says, "Oh, I too, I would like to help. I would like to help the sisters in the removal of these bodies, but Lucius is right. Our task is elsewhere.
Time is of the essence.
We have a bigger job that we must accomplish."
Okay.
And
All right. She comes along, and she says to Lucius, "Does he always speak in such long-winded sentences?"
Oh, him? He's a stargazer. You know how they are.
I'm afraid I don't. He's the first one I've met.
Oh. Oh, well. They're all like that. in my experience.
Have you known many stargazers in your time?
Too many focused on that as opposed to worldliness and preparing themselves for Sigmar as opposed to trying to divine his will from celestial bodies.
You seem to have strong opinions about it.
I do. And I leave it at that for the most part.
she just comes along.
What a dick.
As you get closer, you hear someone shout out, "Not another step closer. No townsfolk from Talbheim allowed through. The gate's closed. Didn't you learn anything from earlier?" And Christiane takes her hood off and steps forward and says, "I am Christiane, daughter of Captain Nearhouse. I need to see my father, and these gentlemen with me."
Immediately spin around to make sure nobody that is among the wounded hear that and try to advance up.
They're a little farther back. They probably heard something like that, but and you see a couple curious faces looking up this way.
Spin about and basically go defensive posture. That's part of his nature. He never turns back on it.
The voice says, "Stay there." And there's some silence. And you see a couple of the guys there that are with the stretchers, and they seem to be conferring with one another, and the two of them start walking up the way towards you guys.
Stay here, Christian, and don't be alarmed if there's violence behind you. I turn to go start heading back towards Nikolai's.
Okay. The two men kind of come up, and when they're in speaking range of the two of you, one of them says, "Can she get us through?"
No.
"Well, we just heard her say she's the captain's daughter. He must let her through."
Yes, he must. Who are you?
"Well, she said that she had gentlemen with her. Couldn't we be a couple of the gentlemen?" The one
You don't look like gentlemen to me.
says, "You don't exactly look like a gentleman yourself."
I like to think I'm not quite so shabby. But your answer's still no. Go back.
All right. Well, try an intimidate check. I'll give you a plus 20 on this.
Oh.
Very good. They look at you, and there's four of you, and even the dogs kind of can sense that there may be trouble, and it's kind of growling a little bit. And the one says, "Tal curse you all," and he kind of pulls on the other guy's sleeve to says, "Let's get out of here." And the two of them turn and go back.
I think we're just going to have more of this. They're desperate.
Oh,
We've got to get moving.
It'll get sorted when it gets sorted. Just maintain a vigilant eye. Nikolai, sort of.
Nikolai just kind of grunts and drags the base of his spear in a line motion across, and then takes a couple steps back away from it.
The same voice calls out, "You may approach the gate."
Well, let's be off then. Let's be off.
Let Christian go ahead, just in case they only mean her. But yes, stay close.
Yes,
Put in a lot of-
when you follow, you don't hear anyone challenging you, so you assume it's all right.
Putting faith in the captain's daughter and the guards not to shoot me, as I'll basically backpedal. If anything, it might earn brownie points, and wow, that dwarf's really dedicated to protecting that girl.
Of course, Andolph is walking in. He's holding onto his staff, and he has a limp on his left leg, and kind of just dragging it behind him slightly.
Has to be uphill, doesn't it?
As you get close, the voice calls out and says, "Are any of you sick?"
Well, no, of course we're not sick. Why would we want to come in here if we're sick? Oh, why? Oh, I don't know what you're talking about.
All right. The gates open. And you are allowed inside. And I am going to need, let's see, resolve checks from each of you. Not to cough excessively during the next bit.
What does he?
Trying to? I assume you are trying to control your coughing. So.
What does the attribute bonus do? Because it's only 1 point, but I have an ability that allows me to swap my guile for resolve. But my willpower's attribute bonus is higher than the fellowship.
The attribute bonus is not going to help you here. This is a check of just the. So you want your
my higher the two. It's only 1 point.
Well,
so
might
guile.
Well. I'm going to give you a plus 20 because you're not horribly sick, at least not yet. So you may.
Who? Just Nikolai?
All of you.
Oh well, I'm gonna re-roll then.
Oh no! There you go. All right. Well, you got a 22, Lucius, and Andolph. Oh, you got a 76.
Yeah, use that fate. Don't fail us now.
Oh, even with 20.
Lucius, you get a critical. You are a master of control of the you don't cough a single time.
You swallow it and turn it into a fart.
Very gassy.
Alright, so you are going to use a fortune point, or I'm sorry, yes, a fortune point.
Yes.
Please
Okay.
do.
To auto pass that.
No, you still have to re-roll again. You don't get to auto pass.
Yeah.
You just get another shot.
Sorry, you gotta
at it.
re-roll.
God damn it.
Remember to type in 20 in the situation.
Yeah, don't put
What did you say our bonus was?
20.
20.
Okay.
Ooh, critical. Okay, so yeah, you're good. You will not have to roll again, neither you nor Lucius. And Nikolai passed as well. Now the only one is Francis, who is along with you.
Why are they with us?
Let's see. Well, Torin isn't, but Francis didn't really have anything to do. He got ordered to come along, and he's doing okay. He's doing all right.
Okay.
So you all managed to keep your coughing under control. Nikolai and Francis do very discreet little coughs into their sleeve every once in a while, but no one seems to notice. And Christiane seems to be in perfect health. So she is not a trouble. So you go in and you see the guards that are inside eye you very warily, and you can see, as the you enter kind of a tunnel here through a gate, and it's a long tunnel to the other side, and there are several gates along the way, and one of them is opened, and the rest of them are not. The portcullises leading out to the other end. They lead you through the first gate and then into a doorway and inside the fortress. And you are guided along under close watch upstairs. And they take you to a room, and you can see there's another room off of that, and the sergeant tells you to remain here and tells Christiane to come with him. Her father wants to see her first. And they go through the other door.
Nikolai will make the comment to her. Be sure to tell him that it was us that got you here safely.
She says, I will. And about half a minute later, you hear some shouting of fatherly anger, clearly being directed at Christiane, and you kind of barely make out her quiet protests, but it's all muffled in through a couple of doors.
Talbheim apparently hard at work.
Nikolai, I'll just look a little distant as he tries to recollect his own family, because it's been ages. Even though he's a young dwarf, but he basically left at a very young age. Try to even picture his mom and dad, so it would just get lost in thought.
We have a lot of guards around us right now.
There are a couple in the doorway. They're watching you closely. They've not disarmed you, but you're not heavily armed in any case.
Other than the Zweihänder.
Yeah, you do have the Zweihänder. Yes, that is heavily armed, I guess.
What a bad sword.
I've got a walking stick.
Yeah, I just rest the spear against the wall.
In that case, on your way in, when you passed through the side door into the fortress, they would have taken the Zweihänder from you and placed it on a weapon rack.
Yeah, I'm not getting that back.
An umbrella rack. Just put the spear in the umbrella.
The rest they don't seem too concerned about. So you did you say you have a full size spear?
Yeah, it's a fire hardened spear.
They would take that from you as well. They're not going to let you roam around with a giant weapon. I mean, if you have just like a dagger or something like that, they're not concerned. So yeah, you're waiting there. It's about a 20-minute period of time. You hear the shouting kind of dying down after maybe 5 minutes, and then another 15 minutes later, she comes back out with the sergeant, and she says, "Well, as I feared, he's not going to let me leave the tower now, but he will see you." And the sergeant says, "Yes, he wants to talk to you. This way." And he beckons you all to follow him.
And as Endolf walks by her, he says, "Although he might not let you leave the tower now, you've done your duty. You've saved plenty of people by introducing us to your father."
She says, "I hope you're right." And she says, "If you do get back to town, please take care of the child. I won't be able to
I
help.
will do that on our honor and for you. We thank you. Thank you for doing this for us.
And she just kind of nods, and the sergeant says, find her quarters until we can put her up properly. And one of the men takes her. Now you lot come with me. And leads you into a what is surprisingly kind of cramped office for a garrison commander. Very simple and sparse. And there is the captain sitting at his desk. And
Jesus, that's a hard-looking man.
and he says, my daughter tells me that you know something about this plague that is plaguing us.
Andolph reaches into his robe. He says, well, I think you might know something just a little bit about it as well. And he slaps down the letter to Gotthard Weidenhoft onto the desk, signed by him.
He looks at it and picks it up and then looks at you and says, where did you get this?
Well, we went to the apothecary. We were looking for information about why this sickness might be taking place. We had our own ideas. We had our own thoughts about it. Lucius here, he thought it might be a rat. I think he might be right. But in any case, we went there to meet him. We found him. The man is dead at his desk with these letters.
When you said the man is dead, you see his eyes widen just a bit, and he exhales. And sighs heavily and sits down in his chair. He had stood to look at the letter, and he shrugs his shoulders and says, they know, then we're lost.
Who is it? Who knows? Tell us. Who are? You said right here in your letter, their eyes are everywhere. Whose eyes?
Doesn't.
Whose eyes are you talking about?
He says it doesn't matter now.
It does matter. If anything's going to be done, we need to know. Whose eyes are you talking about? Captain, tell us.
You wouldn't believe me if I told you.
Well, we've seen some strange things in our travels. We've seen some odd things here and there. We've fought against many odd things. You tell us. We'll decide whether it's something we can believe or not.
Nikolai, who just got finished wiping his nose across the forearm of his sleeve, he just kind of listens to this guy. Really doesn't make any, none of us has made any formal introductions or anything. He just started rambling about, yeah, we found this, we can save the world. And Nikolai will just kind of like do the old Billy Barty midget thing. He'll waddle up with kind of a gap-toothed grin on his face, kind of like do the hand motion to shush, 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 to hand off. He's like, you must excuse, you must excuse. He says sometimes his visions get the better of him. He says, I am Nikolai Rasputin Grigorievich von Dongheim. We and my associates and myself were contracted by Sergeant Halleck to escort refugees to this town of Breitbart. Apparently we have come back to find your city in turmoil. We have yet to be paid for our endeavors. due to the outbreak. He says, but if you need men, or if you need people, sorry, don't want to be a human sympathizer. If you need people, if you need people to assist you in any way, you'll need to look no further.
Well, Nikolai, whatever you said your name is, I am Rudolph Nearhouse, and I suppose I am also at your service. He says, you were employed by the city, you say.
Da, Sergeant Hellock, and that inscrutable magistrate of yours, name I cannot remember. He still owes us money.
Hohenlohe.
That's the one.
That is the word. That is the word.
A hard man. Very strict, but fair, from what I hear. He eyes the four of you.
Well, that is correct. He hired us. He hired us to do a job. And we've been led here to you.
Well.
Yes. And, well, as my milky-eyed friend here was saying, I do apologize for not introducing myself as well. I'm Lucius Pyreheim, and the tall one here with the limp is Andolph. Well, we have brought you this letter, and though you may feel all is lost, and I am inclined to agree with you in some respects, there are some things that we have found that may solve this particular crisis that this apothecary was working on.
So he was working on something.
Indeed. Andolph.
Yes, and Endolf, he looks around just to, confirm that there's no prying eyes, any secret eyes.
There's no one else
anywhere.
in here.
And he reaches into his woolen robes and pulls out from various pockets and pouches and other areas things that he had wrapped up and sealed. And he pulls out the different bowls with labels, the other letters even, and it shows all of the evidence that we have found so far to the captain.
I see.
As you can see, the apothecary was working on something. He was working on something very important, and it got him killed.
He says this has the look of something important. Perhaps there is something here. He says it may be too late for me, but maybe not too late for the city. He hands it back to you. And he looks at Nikolai and he said, you said if there was any service required of you, you would perform it. Is that true of all of you?
You have my word, and the word of a dwarf is like the stone it is carved into.
Then you must,
yes.
Well, you must get into the city and get this into the hands of someone more learned than I, who can perhaps do something with it. Who that would be, I cannot say, but there must be someone in the city who can make use of this.
Well, I'm sure there probably is. If the apothecary outside the city had this much figured out, I'm sure a learned apothecary within the city, someone with more education, someone with more experience, would know even more. So, yes. We will get this to them, whoever it may be.
Excellent. It will not be easy, but you have the look about you that perhaps you can accomplish this. He says, I cannot let you in the city myself. You'll have to find another way. Fortunately for you, I know another way. And he kind of looks,
That being...
you must ride.
Nikolai has a look on his face like, please don't let it be the sewers. Please don't let
He
it
says,
be the
you
sewers.
must ride the dragon's tongue, I'm afraid.
The dragon's tongue. Well, what is that, pray tell?
There's a man named Eladio. He's a stallion. You'll find him at the docks. He can show you the dragon's way. Tell him that I sent you.
Well, we'll do that then. In the meantime, here's your daughter. She helped us get to you so that we could give you this information.
Yes, what about my daughter?
She was an important part of getting this information to you. Her only goal is to see that this city is healed, that children and mothers no longer suffer. She is a good woman. Treat her well.
She is my own daughter. I need no instruction from you on how to treat her well.
Very well.
He says, I don't know if this will help. There is a man named Dobler in the city. He may be able to do something with this. It's the only name I can think of. It may have knowledge regarding these matters.
Well, then we should make haste, or we make waste.
Indeed.
Lucius
I'll go
stands
with
up.
you.
And you as well, Captain. Go to leave to have the escort escort us out.
You can, one of you choose, can attempt a, what would it be? A scrutinize check for me, please. Just straight. One volunteer.
Anybody good at scrutinizing?
I have a 38% chance.
Let me take a look. I do not have that trained, so that should be someone else.
Scrutinize. What's that under? Is that a perception?
Yep.
Yeah.
I have a decent chance
Go
at
ahead.
that, actually.
Straight up. Ooh, all right. You are good at scrutinizing. During this conversation, you can see that he is, he's an old, tough soldier, who is very well practiced at appearing calm and confident, but you can see that he is, in his eyes and just in his tone, that there is a definite edge of despair in his look and just the way he's carrying himself, like he's speaking like a doomed man.
Nikolai's not stupid, and he's kind of probably thinking along the same lines. I'm sure he's afraid for his life because this dude was killed. He's also dropped a couple of hints verbally about it's too late for myself. Though Nikolai's initial response immediately would be like, "But what about Holenholm? We still owe this money."
Well, he made it through the gate before the Countess issued her order, so you may find him on the other side if you get there safely. Tal willing.
Captain, a final query, if you would. As we are doing this task, It may help to know exactly what we may be facing here, since we are now involved quite clearly in this. Who is it that opposes the city?
He just frowns, and he says, "The city has many enemies and always has." He says, "You have a job to do. Best of luck to you. Now go."
Nikolai will reach to shake his hand because he's got that type of nature. They go, "And do it we shall." Then he'll kind of lean in, sigh heavily, and just like going, "Do your best to keep yourself safe. And perhaps your daughter, you have a relative inside the city that she could stay with. Keep her safe too."
I cannot send her into the city. No one is allowed in, not even myself. Countess's orders. I am breaking protocol here by sending you in.
Well, it is for the best of the city that you allow us in.
Is the only reason
I
I am letting
appreciate
you
it.
in. Now go and send my sergeant in when you go. I must have some words with him.
Yes, Captain. We'll do that.
Click my heels together approvingly. The old Cossack way.
And Andolph turns around and he takes his large form through the door. He kind of ducks to get through it.
Okay.
Your captain wants you in there, Sergeant. I think it's best that you go in.
Yes. He goes in, and the captain says, "These men are to be sent back out. See that they are returned safely to Talagad." And the sergeant says, "And then come right back to me when you're done." The sergeant says, "Yes, sir." He says, "All right, gentlemen, this way."
And we follow him.
All right, he takes you back the way you came, and your sword and spear are returned to you.
That is the biggest surprise of the session.
He sees your look of surprise as he hands it back to you, and he just kind of
Massive
looks at you
two-handed
curiously. He says, "You seem ill-fitted for this weapon, sir."
Well, some banditry was attempted on the road, and one of our attackers had it. I thought it better in the hands of someone who is a true son of Sigmar than some befouled idiot out in the woods.
I've no doubt you're right.
But I must say, I have no knowledge of how to use this weapon whatsoever. Did you use this in your own endeavors here at the gatehouse?
Of course.
Then take it.
What?
I will send it to him.
Sigmar bless you. He looks at it. He says, "It's not a bad weapon." He gestures at the weapon racks and says it would be only fair to allow you in exchange for your kindness and generosity. Choose.
He who gives something and expects something in return is not a son of Sigmar. I give freely to you.
And I give freely to you. Clearly you did not expect a gift, so consider it a gift.
Well, if you insist. Look through and... I mean, is there... I don't think I can use any military weapons that are better than my flail.
There are
Flail. Give him a flail.
There are swords, there are spears, crossbow,
I guess one of my other careers might be able to use something, but that dictates my choice. I don't know. Am I able to hold? I can't really hold off on this, can I? Oh,
No,
man.
you just pick
Give him a
just
whip.
pick something. Yeah, a whip. No,
Yeah.
there are no whips on the weapon racks. I'm sure there's a whip lying around somewhere near the sergeant's probably in the sergeant's quarters. But no whips, and they're not flails are not really their thing.
No.
A mace you could take. That's
They're a warhammer.
there's definitely some warhammers. Yes.
Yeah, I'll take one of those.
That
And Sigma
would be
himself once
fitting,
wielded.
yes.
You have my thanks, sir, and I extend a hand to him. I wish you the best of luck in the days to come, though I believe we are all in a terrible time to exist.
Indeed. The days are dark. He says, "Best of luck to you."
Nod and make my way.
And yeah, he escorts you out to the first gate, and as you pass under it, he just turns and goes back in, and the gates close behind you. Another bio break. Very well, let us bio.
Let us indeed. We have.
Okay. So the gate has closed behind you, and you are back on the Talagad side.
A good wife
Nice.
indeed.
Have a beer. I'm having some rum, so there we go. Cheers.
Awesome.
Rum is mother's milk.
It is indeed. All right, gents, I assume you make your way back down.
Indeed.
Well, by the
To the docks.
yeah, by the time you get there, all that's left are they're now clearing out dead bodies. All the wounded have been already taken away, and now the sisters are just organizing a burial parties to take the bodies.
I already forgot. Were we given a name of someone we should approach?
Yes,
Okay.
but you forgot it, so now you have no idea. No.
Yeah.
Um,
I was
He
like,
said
wait a
there's a
second, we
man
were just
named
given a name.
Eladio and a stallion.
Eladio, that's right.
And then the man in town was Dobler? Dobler?
Yes, Dobler.
Dobler. Okay. So Dobler in town is Astario. The docks. The Dragon's Way? Dragon's Tongue Way?
Yes, the dragon's tongue. He said you will have to ride the dragon's tongue.
Oh.
Well, the first thing that we need to find is this Eladio. It seems like he will be able to tell us how to get over there.
Indeed. We should make our way there quickly.
Okay. You make your way down to Zedocus. And you try finding this guy named Eladio down at the docks. I will allow one of you to attempt a rumor check to see if you can ask
Alright.
around.
Why are we all still in the sisters?
Oh, we can sort out of
Yeah,
that.
It's fine. You don't.
I have a
You don't have to
54%.
move. I'm just.
43 in rumor.
Now, gentlemen, just pick one of you and do it.
I say Nikolai is probably the best.
He would be the most straightforward.
Yeah.
And what's this guy's name?
Estalio.
Alright.
Yes, the Sorry, did I say Estalio? I mean
Elario the Stallion.
Eladio. Eladio the Stallion.
You there? We need to find Ilario. We've been scouring these docks for days. Tell me, do you know he is an stallion?
Well, make your room a check and I'll tell you.
Spear to the face. Spear to the face.
Hey!
All right, good enough for me. That fella down there, that's Eladio. Just be careful not to get on his bad side. He's a bit hot-tempered.
I just grin at when he says that, like he ain't seen nothing yet.
He says, though, if you buy his fish, he's a bit nicer.
Oh. He might own the fish store.
Nothing to do.
No, I don't
It's
think
on
he
the
does.
other side of the docks, too.
Okay, good. Okay.
Fish caught in the water that has been apparently poisoned. Surprised he has fish to sell.
It's, yeah, it doesn't take you long to find him. He is apparently a fishmonger.
Yeah.
And he says, some customers. Hey, I have some very fine fish for you today. And he has a little, he's got like a little, almost cigarette box that he's carrying around. You know, the, like they do at the hot dog, you know, the hot dogs at the ball game. And he's got some pretty ugly looking fish on this tray. He says, can I interest you gentlemen in something? You look hungry?
I'll buy the cheapest the first cheapest 2 fish I can find.
All right. He says, an excellent choice, sir. You have very good taste in briny things.
Then as I take him and hand him the money, I'll try to cusp his hand and lean in and whisper as low as I can. I said, we need to speak in private.
Do we, my friend? Well, there is a tavern still open. I will meet you there in a few minutes. And he points.
Nod. Go.
And order me a drink, of course.
What should I order?
Surprise me. If it has alcohol, I am happy. And a word of advice. Don't grab the arm of strangers anymore. Not everyone is okay with that invasion of space.
Just gotta look at him blankly. We make our way to the tavern.
Okay. It's
Order a shot of potato vodka.
really not very crowded. During plagues, people tend to avoid congregated areas. So you're a little surprised that the tavern's open. Most of them are boarded up already. But you are served, and there's plenty of seats. And he comes through the door a few minutes later, as he said, and he spies you all and smiles. He does not have his his little fishmongering outfit anymore, and he comes over and sits down at the table with you and looks at the drink laid out for him and sniffs it.
Oh, I would have actually probably waited. Basically, he'd walk in and see me down a shot of vodka.
Okay.
Then when I see him come in, I'll just motion to the bartender. do like the 2 fingers, basically another round
Yeah.
for me, one for me, and
Alright.
then one for him.
Okay. Is it just you? Are you alone, or did all of you come?
I went with him.
Yeah, I'm assuming we all traveled as a
Okay.
group.
Yeah, I
Alright.
went with him, and I got something simple, Sigmar's taste, perhaps a bit of
Yep.
cheap ale.
Yeah, my posture and demeanor is real easygoing. I don't want to be apprehensive to anybody or anything.
All right. He accepts the vodka and he says, "Ah, of course. Are you from Kislev?" And he downs it quickly. Woo.
Nah. Originally,
Never been myself. I hear it's very cold.
only to the people with thin blood.
Well, that would be me. And he
Grin and
he
laugh a
smiles.
little.
He says, "So, you needed to speak with me. Are you interested
Look
in
around.
ordering fish in bulk? Or is there something else you had in mind?"
Look around the room really long and hard, and I want it to be apparent to him that I'm basically judging the room,
Okay.
and then it's safe to talk here.
As safe as anywhere. Depends on what we're talking about, I suppose.
Because we have heard that you sometimes ferry people to various locations.
I'm a humble fishmonger. I could perhaps give you a ride on my skiff, but not very far.
See, I don't know how to read and write, so I can't like slip them a note or anything.
What was the name of the
Near house.
No, well, I know Near House, but what was the name of the track he told us that we had to take?
Dragon's tongue.
The Dragon's Tongue. Okay. So, Andolph, kind of sitting back and half listening to the dwarf have this conversation with him, he finally, when he says, I don't know, when the person he's talking to says, I don't know, Andolph leans in and says, Near House. He told us you would take us on the Dragon's Tongue.
His eyes narrow a
He-
moment.
He looks around the room as he says that.
Captain Nearhouse told you this. He's the captain up at the Citadel up there, is he?
Talking away.
You know who the captain is.
I've heard of him.
Yes, well,
And he told you that I could give you a ride on the Dragon's Tongue? I see.
you are to take us on the Dragon's Tongue. And I think you are the person to do it. And you are the person that should do it.
He,
So let's make preparations and be done with all this skullduggery.
skullduggery. Good heavens. That's a big word.
Well, I guess if you're not educated, it is.
No, Andolph, no need to get prickly. I'm assuming that you expect something in
You
return.
see him bristle a little bit. And he says, I am very well educated for a fishmonger, as a matter of fact, sir.
Well, then you understand what I'm saying. It's the Dragon's Tongue it is.
He says, well, if the captain has referred you, then I will take you on a ride. I do know of a dragon's tongue. It can be arranged. How many wish to ride?
We don't know
Well-
if Torrent's better, do we?
There's 3 of us now, and we're hoping there's 2 of us that's feeling a lot better by the next time we do this.
I see. 5. Very well.
5 plus pooch pooch, unless our friend's wounds are too bad he cannot travel.
Pooch, pooch, Very well. If the captain sent you, I assume I'll be reimbursed by him at some point.
Well, that's right. He said you would be reimbursed beyond your belief.
Really?
He told that to us, so
God damn it.
you should probably get us over as soon
He
as
says,
possible.
that sounds just like the captain I know. Reimbursed beyond my imagination. And he kind of rolls his eyes. He says, be that as it may. How soon can you be ready for the ride?
And Andolph looks over at Nikolai and Lucius and the others and waits for like an acknowledgement of readiness from them.
What time of day is it now?
It's mid-afternoon now.
Yes, I would. How long would you need?
We go at night. If it is truly urgent, I could be ready tonight.
Then let us make it tonight. Those of us who are ready will be ready.
Very well. He says, then I will deliver you tonight. We'll meet outside the Crooked Shoe Tavern. Shall we say 10 bells? That should give you enough time to prepare, and myself as well. Dress warmly. It's chilly down there.
Agreed.
You may also want to bring a light source. I'll have my own, but I'll probably wish for it if you don't have any. And I'm not going to provide them myself. So, that should be about it.
I think so.
Very well, then.
Good.
We shall meet you tonight, here on the docks.
No, not here on the docks. Behind the Crooked Shoe
No.
Tavern. I thought you were an educated man. Do they not teach you how to listen in school?
Well then, but on the tavern it is.
Right. He kind of makes a grimacy face and sort of a dismissive look and gets up and turns and leaves, goes out the tavern.
Well, I think that went well. What you say, Lucius?
Yeah, Lucius is just rubbing his temples. Yes, I'm sure he took quite a liking to you.
Well, that's normal for most people. They take quite the liking to me. I can't help it.
Mm-hmm. At any rate, I believe he is right. We should secure light sources. Do we have torches, by the way? I don't know that we do or don't.
You
in packs.
don't, but it wouldn't be difficult to...
How much does a lantern cost?
That's a good question. I can
think we
look
should
that up.
spend this time getting
Break.
our gear prepared.
Yes.
Go back and get my stool and break the legs off and wrap some of the
You'll
the
have
dead,
3 whole torches.
Wow.
wrap some of the dead people clothes around.
Then. Yeah. There's nice. It's already got a little bit of propellant on there, maybe, with some of that. Whatever bile's on there, I'm sure.
Nobody
flammable.
breathes the smoke.
A lantern. Let's see. Why doesn't it say how much a lantern costs? Now that is...
And then
A
lamp oil
lantern
as
is,
well.
oh my
obviously.
goodness, 2 gold crowns. Heavens.
A lantern?
Yes.
Oh,
No,
You gotta go.
It's
You
an
gotta.
advanced piece of machinery, sir.
yeah, that's
All I
well
can
made.
all I can see is, meanwhile, the dead guy's corpse. Here, here comes one of y'all shuffling in, reaching over his shoulder to pick that coin for himself.
we've got
I'm
a fair bit
not
of
going
coin.
back for that coin, sir. Even though that is so tempting. 40 gold coins. Oh my god.
Lanterns for everyone.
Yeah.
Oh, we've only got bronze pieces. Oh no, we're not getting any of that shit.
I have silver pieces.
Well, now hold on.
Didn't we get
This
paid in
town
advance? We got paid
No.
10 gold in advance, didn't we?
has that been divvied up?
What has what been divvied up?
The gold.
We got paid 10 gold in advance because remember it was supposed to be
I
15.
thought that
But
was divvied up, but if it hasn't been, it hasn't been.
Oh, well, I mean...
I don't see anybody with gold crowns in their sheet. I'm looking
yeah,
at the
because he
other
gave
two. They, yeah, no, but
he gave the pile to
yeah,
Doc.
yeah. So Doc
'Cause remember,
should
he's-
have
he's-
it right
he's-
now. You should have 10
So,
gold
I
crowns.
should have it, but I
All right,
I
so
don't
add
have
10
it
gold
down.
crowns to your.
Like it was 10 each. It was 10 each. Because remember, he put them out into piles of 15 each, and he took like 5 off of the top of each.
Under combat, I will add 10 gold crowns. Okay.
Yes, so you could buy a lantern or 2.
Assuming we even need
Yeah.
to.
All right.
They are more reliable than torches, certainly. But
So as we make our way through the market and can find what we can find and who's open and who's not open, those kinds of things,
Yeah.
I will look for
the
a
prices are going to be about 50% higher because there's very few businesses open. So the people brave enough to continue or greedy enough to continue commerce during a plague are going to charge more. So it's going to cost you 3 for a lantern.
so and he haggles with. So you want 3 gold crowns for this old
Of
lantern?
course I
right
want
here?
3 gold crowns. You want the lantern?
Well, of course I want the lantern. That's why I'm in your
You
shop
ca- you,
shopping
you
for
can
a lantern.
attempt a bargain check. Let's see if you can talk him down to something more reasonable.
Well, I don't know that. You need to be charging me for 3 gold crowns for this lantern.
Well, I think I do need to be charging you that. And if you don't want my lantern, you can find one somewhere else.
Oh, bah, very well. Here's your 3 gold crowns.
No,
Your-
it was
your
10
cook.
silver each. My bad, it was 10
yeah,
silver
10
each.
gold crowns sounded like an awful lot. 10.
Yeah.
And
Because-
so
yeah, 'cause
really,
he-
between the 5 of you, that is, so that's 50 silver, which comes out to, I think it's 20 silver is a gold crown.
Oh.
So,
No,
So-
we
so
don't
what-
have
what-
the money.
Did something change?
yes. It's,
No, we had we don't have the
that's
money.
correct. It was, so really it's 58.
Yeah.
You have 58 silver, which translates into 2 and
Yeah, 'cause
18.
I have my-
So you have enough
Yeah, I have
between
my
the 2 of
silver.
you if you're willing, between the bunch of you, if you're willing to pool your resources to get this.
No.
Yeah, I have my
No.
silver. Yeah, we got allocated 10 silver
Yep.
each because I started the game with 20
I could
bronze.
contract if necessary.
Oh,
That's what I just did to verify. And I have 3 torches of my own, so I'm
You
cool.
see, this is why we have it in writing.
Never mind. Well, never mind, you old thief. I don't want your old lantern.
Well, you can just
it's
bugger
not,
off
It's not
then.
worth that much. Very well, I will.
Good
bugger
luck
off.
bumping your head in the dark. Ha!
Good luck feeding your family.
Wow.
Oh, curse you.
And he walks out.
Mm-hmm.
I'll use a torch. I don't care about using a torch. I'll just use a
Yeah,
torch.
you
I have never had no problems using a torch in the past. I want no
torches are 3 bits, 3 bronze. That's easy. So really call it 4.
Yeah.
You can get torches.
I'll take
I'm
one.
going to go to someone else and buy those.
All right. So we're going to end on that note. You have made some preparations. There is one thing you must all do, however, as the time passes. You must each attempt a toughness check.
Ooh. Here we go.
And Andolph, you actually have to do 2 because you were the first one to get this.
God
You're a little ahead of the
damn you.
curve.
Toughness check, huh?
Yep.
Handolph's about to have a stroke.
Yeah, Andolph, you're going to need to make 2 of them. But I
I'll
wanted to-
stop my recording after the toughness tests.
Yep.
All right. So toughness check isn't in the...
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it's down near the bottom.
Look for
survival
skullduggery.
I see it. It's
Your favorite
T
word.
in, T in the alphabet. Ooh,
That's
very
1.
nice. Andolph made 1.
Are you tough?
All right, so now
enough?
everybody has to make 1.
Okay.
Nikolai, okay, you're all right.
Are you tough enough?
anyone else?
Lucius.
I might use a fortune on that.
Okay. You can do 1 fortune.
Damn. Oh.
Okay.
All right, and my second toughness
Yeah.
check.
No.
Oh,
There is a fortune left. You might as well. It's the end of the session.
Yep, I'm going to go ahead and use it.
Good luck. All right.
Hey.
You're doing okay. You're surviving.
hey, before you stop, do you want to roll for the Doughboys, or you want to?
No, I'll have them do it when they get here next week. Or not next week.
Okay.
31st will be our next session.
All right. I'll stop the recording there.
Okay. Great.
Awesome.